All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me on CBS 19 Plus. I'm CBS 19 meteorologist Joel Robinson. We are tracking satellite and radar this morning. We are watching a couple of showers moving out of the area and just all around cloud cover. This is going to be all ahead of our next system, which will be really moving into the area into tomorrow. But in the meantime, expect kind of a mix of clouds and sun and maybe a few showers and also some very gusty conditions for some of us. And we do have wind advisories out for some parts of the area, which I'll show you in just a second. But just behind this band of showers, you can see on satellite and radar the clearing that's going on. And that's going to be pretty important to what is going to happen with that band of showers and thunderstorms off to the north. Severe weather is ongoing in Oklahoma. We'll start to see that really ramp up into tomorrow with a second wave coming into the area. So we're going to continue to watch this very closely, this area of clearing, to see if we can get enough energy to get maybe a few additional showers and maybe some thunderstorms into this afternoon. So that is what we're tracking as we head into this afternoon, on top of course, the winds. Current winds, as we take a look at our Roberts and Roberts cam, and start to see the sun kind of showing its light a little bit. It was pretty gloomy this morning, and we are going to continue to be fairly gloomy into this afternoon. Current winds now out of the south at about 10 to 15 and pretty close to 20 miles per hour. The sustained winds today will be between 15 to 20 miles per hour at peak, and of course gusting between 35 and 40 miles per hour for some of us. Not all of us, but at least some of us. We do have wind advisories out that started at 7 o'clock this morning and will go until 4 p.m. this afternoon. That's going to go for Smith County, Gregg County, Upshur County, Wood County, Camp County, and then Franklin, Titus, and Morris County, and areas further to the north, until, again, 4 o'clock p.m. Now, over the entirety of East Texas, we got wind gusts gusting at least between 25 to 30 miles per hour, but those of us that are in the wind advisory could potentially see 35 to 40 mile an hour gusts. So certainly want to be careful, especially if you're heading west or east, especially on I-20. The winds are coming out of the south pretty strong, and if you are in any sort of high-profile vehicle, definitely could cause some issues there. So certainly want to be careful on your way out this afternoon. Now the winds, they'll start to die down. For the evening, we'll see gusts between 15 and 20 miles per hour instead of the 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts that we'll be seeing in the meantime. So again, definitely make sure to watch out for that. And as far as our severe weather outlook goes for tomorrow, it's a very low-end threat. I do expect most of the thunderstorms that do develop for tomorrow to be pretty run-of-the-mill, not a huge deal, but certainly some beneficial rain heading into tomorrow. But basically what this means is you have this green highlight across much of East Texas, and only 1 or 2 locations within this green highlight could see 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, 1-inch diameter hail. The tornado threat is also on the table to a very low extent. And of course, above all, really some heavy rainfall. We got a lot of moisture here, and that's going to be super beneficial considering we've been super dry. Now, the instability or the storm energy for this afternoon, not expected to be really all that strong. That's why I'm really only expecting a few showers, maybe a couple of rumbles of thunder in there, but I don't expect anything too crazy into this afternoon. The real storm energy will really start to move in kind of a moderate intensity as we head into Friday, and especially over deep East Texas, including Crockett, Nacogdoches Center, Hemphill, San Augustine, Lufkin, and into Trinity County as well. I think that's going to have the best chance to see some of the most intense storms for tomorrow. So that is what we're going to be seeing. It could potentially make its way further north, closer to the I-20 corridor, but I do think mainly deep East Texas will have the chance to see at least the most strongest storms. At least that's what we have as far as the latest data set. We're going to continue to keep an eye on that going forward. Now into today, we'll see that round of showers come through. Temperatures will be in the middle to upper 70s. By the way, we did break a record yesterday. The previous record for Tyler was 79. That was back in 1956. Yesterday we hit 81. Today's record high is 78. 79 is the forecast high for Tyler, so we could certainly break some more records for today. It's been overall a very mild January so far. So that's what we're going to be expecting into this afternoon. Kind of a mix of clouds and sun, a few peaks of sunshine. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s as we start our Friday. Cold front will be basically draped across East Texas, and that's kind of that dividing line between the unstable air ahead of it and then the stable air behind it. And so the positioning of this cold front is really going to be important. And if it's going to be across deep East Texas, or at least ahead of deep East Texas, I should say, that's where the best chance of storms are going to be for tomorrow. Now, we can't rule out maybe a storm or two during the early afternoon coming across areas like Tyler, Jacksonville, Henderson, Longview, into Jefferson and Marshall. Can't rule that out, but you can see those storms really start to get going once again further to the south, extending from Carthage down to Nacogdoches and towards Lufkin. Again, that's kind of where we were seeing that best energy. So that's what we have that we can expect, at least for tomorrow, as far as the latest data set goes. And then we plummet. Those temperatures will be down into the 40s for Saturday morning and only reach the 50s for both Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll steadily rebound back into the 60s for the later parts of the week and into potentially the weekend as well. So a nice cool down there, slightly below average, and we'll kind of creep just a little bit above average as we continue on through the rest of next week. Here's what we could potentially see as far as rainfall goes. At least 1 to 2 inches, certainly possible. And so with that, certainly some flooding is going to be a possible issue, especially given these rainfall amounts in such a short amount of time and how dry it's been. We could definitely see some flash flooding in some parts of the area, but this is a really good dose of rain that we could certainly use. The drought monitor just came in for today. We are in a moderate to severe drought, mainly across deep East Texas and even into places like Sulphur Springs and Mount Pleasant, and further to the north you can see that moderate to severe drought. Meanwhile, the areas in yellow like Tyler, Henderson, and Longview, just to name a few, in that abnormal drought. So it's not quite as bad as maybe some of the other areas here, but certainly overall we could definitely use the rainfall, and that is exactly what I think we'll be seeing as far as the rainfall for tomorrow and even into parts of today. I think the majority of the rain will be happening into Friday. But temperatures again for today, upper 70s, low 70s for Friday, 60% chance of thunderstorms, with a few of them becoming strong to severe, so we'll keep an eye on that. Again, we're talking about the risk for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, up to an inch diameter hail, and tornadoes are on the table as well to a lower extent. I think maybe 1 or 2 tornadoes could certainly be a possibility, with maybe the maximum rating around an EF0 to EF1. I don't expect it to be all that strong, but again, will be pretty impactful should it happen. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that, but it's a very low end chance all across the area. And then that cold front will move through. We'll see temperatures in the middle 50s and then steadily rise into the low 60s as we head into the middle of next week. So that's kind of what we have so far. Let me see if we have any questions on Facebook real quick. If you have any questions on the forecast, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I appreciate you joining me this morning. Okay. Yeah. Thinking of the daily or the weather daily news. Well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it, Edmund. So that's what we have for today. Again, or at least for the latest data set. So for today, the story once again is the wind. We're talking about 35 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts marginally. And it's mainly going to be for areas like Tyler, Longview, Gilmer, Mineola, and further to the north into Mount Pleasant. But we have this really strong system off to the north that's already causing some severe weather into Oklahoma. We had a few tornadoes that touched down in Oklahoma today. I don't really expect any sort of widespread severe weather threat into tomorrow either. Kind of a similar situation, if not just a little bit better. But for today, because of that strong system to the north, we got some pretty breezy winds from the south. Most of us seeing between 25 and 30 mile an hour wind gusts, with some places exceeding 35, maybe even 40 mile an hour wind gusts. That's going to go all the way through today, at least until 4 o'clock. We have wind advisories in effect for some parts of the area. And again, here is the highlight for the severe weather outlook. So from Linden all the way down towards Athens, further to the southeast, better chance for some more organized, more intense storms are going to be off to the east into Shreveport. We'll take a look at future skycast one more time. Again, storm energy not looking all that impressive for today. That's why I think a few showers will be possible. But I think a lot of that storm activity based on the anticipation of the orientation of the cold front, which is basically down here by this point. That's the dividing line between the warm, moist air and the cool, dry air. And so with it being basically oriented across the central parts of the area, and at this point, it's going to be down here, we do expect for maybe just deep East Texas experiencing at least the most storm activity. So here's what it looks like once again on your future skycast. Again, for today, windy, 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts marginally, and then a few showers. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. Upper 70s, near record high temperatures again for today. And then you can kind of see the dividing line. So you see the cold front is kind of oriented from the southwest and the northeast. You can see the warmer temperatures off to the south, and then you can see 46 degrees in Sulphur Springs. So by Friday morning, it is expected to be basically along the line from Jefferson through Longview, Tyler, Palestine. You can kind of see the winds there too. So with that being in place, maybe a storm or two in the early afternoon along that cold front, but as it continues to move to the south, a lot of the activity by the evening will be off into deep East Texas from Carthage, Nacogdoches down to Groveton. So that is the latest on the positioning of this severe weather potential. And then we're off into the 40s for the morning on Saturday, and then 50s for the weekend. And then beyond that, we're not looking at another chance of rain for quite some time. We are expected to be around average when it comes to rainfall, but we will be pretty dry and briefly below average when it comes to temperatures for the weekend, and then we'll be on our way back up into the 60s, which is slightly above average for this time of year. All right, so that is what we have as for the latest forecast. Of course, pay me a visit for the noon show today. We'll have all the latest details on that. And then Jamie Hazard will be in this afternoon with some of the latest information there. So be sure to tune in to CBS 19 News at 5, 6, 6:30, and 10 o'clock. Jamie Hazard will have all the latest details on that. But for now, stay weather aware. We'll keep you advised.